The next thing we're going to do is to set up the start screen of our game. To begin with, we're going to delete the cat sprite and we're going to make a completely new sprite. So we're going to import a sprite from our folder, and the sprite that we're going to import is the game title.svg, which is this one. Click on open, and then we go into the sprite editor to edit this sprite. So we go to costumes, and there's our sprite. So we're going to firstly reduce the size, and as we are reducing the size, we drag it back to the center. There's our center cross there. So we make sure that it's center position, but we need to make it a little smaller so we can fit it to our screen. Once we've done this, we're going to import yet another sprite, and this one would be start.svg. Click on that and then click on open. This is the text that says press space to begin, or simply press space. So we position this guy below the game title. Make sure it's centered. Next, we're gonna recolor these two sprites. So we use our color tool, and then we're gonna choose this color. Click on that. Change the the full color as well as the outline color. Let's zoom that in so we can have a better look. There we go. And we zoom out. Now let's restore the stage to full size and reposition this sprite to the center of the screen. Let's make it just a little bit smaller. There we go. That's perfect. Reposition it to the center of the screen. Fantastic. Now let's go and add some scripts for this sprite. So we'll go to events, drag across when green flag clicked. Then we're going to go to looks, and we're going to drag this guy across, change color effect by 25. But we're going to change the color option to the ghost option. Change ghost effect by 25. Now to see what this does, we need to start our game. The moment you start your game, you can see that the text changes and it actually becomes a lot more good looking than it was. But we're not done here yet. Next, we drag across a show. Then we go to control, drag across a forever, and then an if. Obviously, this if is going to check if the space key has been pressed. So we go to sensing and we drag across key space pressed. So what happens if the space key is pressed? There's a couple of things that are going to happen. The first thing is that it's going to play a sound, and the sound that it's going to play is the start sound. So let's go and get the start sound. So we go back to sounds and we click on upload sound from file, and then we select start sound.wave and click on open. Obviously we don't need the pop sound, so we're going to delete this guy. Back to our script. So when the user presses space, it must play the start sound. Next, we hide this text. The next thing we do is to set the game status variable to 1. Now it's very important that we do this. This says to the rest of the sprites that the game is now active. Now previously we've done this sort of thing using a broadcast message, but now we are using a variable. That just shows you that there is more than one way to do the same thing in Scratch. The next thing we're going to do is send out a broadcast message. And then we're going to create a new message that will simply state start. And okay that. And finally, this script must stop. So we go back to control and drag across a stop. Before we can actually place it in there, we need to change it to this script. So it will simply stop this script and not stop the entire game. Now the reason we need to stop this script, and this is very important, is because once the game starts, we don't want the game to respond to the space key. Whenever the user presses the space key, it mustn't respond in any way. If we don't put this piece in here, then what will happen is even after the game starts, then every time the user presses the space key, the game will keep restarting itself, which is bad. We don't want that to happen. So we stop the script. In other words, we kill this process. So whenever the user presses the space key after this, it will have absolutely no effect. So let's test our script now and see if everything works. Start our game. Music starts. Text appears. Press space. It makes the start sound and the start screen disappears. Fantastic.